For over 20 years, I was a government spy working for the Defense Intelligence Agency, the Central Intelligence Agency, and the United States military intelligence entities in various capacities throughout the world in varying positions. In the primary years, I worked in the Southeast Asia environment. In the mid-70s, I moved into Yugoslavia, Czechoslovakia, Romania. In the early 80s, I went into what people know as the black helicopters flying around in military operations in Task Force 160, based out of Fort Campbell, Kentucky, under the control of the National Security Council. From there, I went into Honduras and Nicaragua as a special operations CIA pilot flying for Ollie North and the National Security Council, bringing drugs into seeing the drugs were brought into the United States. We simply brought the drugs out of the Contra camps into designated areas in Honduras. They were then transferred into military and civilian aircraft and brought into the United States, dispersed to our children around the United States.
I was told that my new assignment was to go to a place called Fort Campbell, Kentucky.
But you were out of the service then?
As a reserve officer, you're never really...
you're in the reserve?
In the reserves, right.
Okay.
I was reactivated. I was sent to a place called Fort Campbell, Kentucky. They decided after the problem in the desert, trying to get the hostages held in Iran, where our aircraft all went into one another, that they needed a task force set up for anti-terrorism. So they decided they'd put together an aviation task force at Fort Campbell, Kentucky. They took CIA assets, CIA officers, they put them under the control of the National Security Council, and they built this new unit called 160th Aviation Company that really wasn't on any of the military TO&E equipment lists. So there we were.
Another covert operation.
Another covert operation building itself in Fort Campbell, Kentucky. During the time from 1980 through 1984 that we were building that unit, testing different techniques of flight, testing different flight platforms. A lot of them I can't talk about. We get into some heavy losses because we were doing things that never were done with these helicopters and other aircraft that we were flying. And so on one particular occasion, we lost one of our unit commanders, a major, flew into some high power lines during a nighttime exercise. He was killed. His co-pilot, a warrant officer, had his legs cut off. During the post-crash investigation, a man from Washington came in and he identified himself as Jake. He was accompanied by another man who wouldn't identify himself, and so we just nicknamed him the Snake.
Jake the Snake.
Jake and the Snake. That's who was there. He was a pretty slimy guy, you know. We would later find that Jake was a person who was attached to the NSC, and his actual name was Oliver North.
How do I know you're telling me the truth?
Because you like me, Ted.
Now, I hugged Nancy, but I'm not going to hug you. No, Chip, what I'm telling you, the answer I want to that is...
I can give you an answer.
I know you can. That's why I asked it.
Okay.
Tell me. Tell them.
I'm telling the truth because I have it documented. You don't have to take my word for it. It's documented. It's not only documented in the documents here, it's also documented in federal documents.
Oh, it is?
Court case.
Tell us about that.
There's a federal trial that took place. During that federal trial, the SEPA briefing, everything was put in place. There are transcripts to that available to the public. All you have to do is do a filing, Freedom of Information Act filing, but you really don't even have to do that. You can walk right into the federal courts in Tampa, Florida, pay your $25 to the clerk, and get copies of it without even putting a filing in, because that judge made sure that that SEPA briefing wasn't classified.
Chip, you're the only you don't have ex-CIA. You're the only CIA agent that I've known, and I've known a few of them through the years, who can come forward and say, it's documented, the CIA admits that I worked for them. That's in that document, right?
It's in the document.
Yeah. Now,
never a denial on the government's part.
Now, can somebody call Washington, D.C., a certain number and say,
sure,
is Chip Tatum, or was he an employee of the CIA? Who would they call?
Doyce Gene Tatum, Jr., just call the personnel office at Langley. On the documents is my Social Security number at Tampa. You can get the Social Security number. You can actually get the case number from the court and use that and find out if I was an employee.
Okay.
It's pretty cut and dry. There's no denying who I work for.
No, yeah, right. Okay, but you're the only
The
one.
only thing that they can deny is what I have to say.
But they always deny it, or they
Oh,
say
sure.
we have no record, and the CIA agents are not allowed to even identify themselves as CIA. Let's face it.
Well, and that's law.
That's by law, right?
That's by law.
Yeah.
Sure.
So if some guy
because this federal judge made this ruling, it's not
and
law.
some guy goes around saying I'm a CIA agent, don't believe him.
Yeah. No,
Isn't that right?
That's right.
And I've heard of this.